Silver Doctors live on air. It is Monday morning, the 25th day of the month of November. Excited to be back behind the desk for another live stream. How's everybody doing this afternoon? My name is Mike, the co-host, along with my better half over here, Mr. Half Dollar. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good today, Mike. It's good to have you back behind the running the show here. This is great. This takes a lot of heat off my end.
Oh man, it's good to be back. It is good to be back. Let me clear out some things here. I got your face covered up. Okay, so we're good to go. All right. So that being the case, welcome everyone to the live stream. Let me check in with the chat, see who's tuning in thus far. Make sure everything is going well on our end. So we got Brian Garcia says, hope there's more time before the crash. So we definitely can share our thoughts on that. We got Glenn says, hey, Paul and Mike, love you guys. What is your favorite coin, bar, round, and why is it your favorite? Thanks. Okay, we can touch on that. We got Robin Hood. We got Big Bubs. We got Dave. We got Tom. Okay. So
we've got to touch on that, Mike. We've got to start with that.
Okay, feel free to go ahead and get it started. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Mike, I just noticed. Actually, I noticed it yesterday. They didn't say to say this or anything like that. I'm just saying this. SD Bullion's got $25 face value of 90% silver halves at spot, Mike. At spot. At spot. Really? We're talking about because there's 7.15 ounces in each $10 face value. Right. Okay. So 1 ounce, so $1 worth, right? Whether it's 10 dimes or 4 quarters or whatever, it's 0.715, right? Yeah. Roughly, because you got wear or you got additional grit buildup. So, it's a give or take thing. But so $25, it's like 7.15 times 2, that's 14 plus another half. So we're talking about 18 ounces of silver here at spot. That is a lot of silver at spot with no premium. Right. So now yeah. I don't think you get to choose what it is, but that's what it comes down to for me, right? If I can get silver and pay absolutely no premium on it, I'm on that deal all day long. That's just an amazing deal.
All right. So definitely I will pull that up in the chat so it'll give people a chance to check that out.
Yeah, because usually people dealers will offer only 1 ounce or 5 ounces or 10 ounces. They've all got this own little thing to get customers, right?
Yeah.
But that's just a crazy deal right there. I don't know if they limit it to just one. They probably do. I mean,
I don't imagine you do, because if not, a lot of people will come in and buy up.
yeah. Give me all you got. It's like.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I see it here it's plastered on the cover. So here we go. I'll pull this up here, and I'll share it with everybody so everybody can see. Because this is also a great time, as always, to get your weight up. And so we can actually touch on that next question, which was, what is our favorite? What is your favorite? And vice versa. So here's the little special that Mr. Half Dollar was referring to right here.
Yeah. And generally speaking, for me, it's been... Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
Yeah, generally speaking, for me, it's been a numbers game, right? So for the longest time, it's been some American Eagles with the majority of generic rounds. But over the last couple of years, I've been heavy into the 90%, especially since the premiums have crashed on 90%.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like the pre-33 gold, right? Premiums on that is so low too. So just generally, relatively speaking, it is. Yeah. So there's some good deals to be had. And that's the thing, right? When you're an investor, you want to look for value within the value. So that's my point there.
Yeah, good point. Good point there. So let me see. So as far as my favorite or preferred is, I'm a Silver Eagles guy, just because it's actual legal tender. It's printed by the United States Mint, so it has a lot of qualities that makes it more, not more, but just it is money to me, as opposed to the Federal Reserve printed paper and digits and stuff like that. So I prefer Silver Eagles, but also anything that's relatively cheap. I just like the concept of weight in general in metals. So that's just my whole thought process there. So yeah, buddy. So let's check back in the chat, see what's going on. And then also we can kick it off with a couple other topics you want to touch on. And so I got one or two that I definitely want to comment on and go from there. Okay. And so we got Rod B says, anything pre-33. I got some 24 karat gold mine jewelry coming for Christmas. So that's another thing. Have you are you familiar with there's one or two companies out there I'm familiar with that offer actual 24 karat pure fine jewelry, whether it be bracelets, necklaces, pendants. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I mean, those are options too. They're good options. The only thing is the premium is so much higher, right? Because your premium is going to be probably 20% of that stuff. But yeah, right. Like you go into Walmart and their jewelry is like 8K, and then you go into like, what is it called? Like Zales or Jared or whatever those ones in the mall are.
Yeah.
And like the highest they go is 18K, right? And it's really expensive in those stores.
Yeah.
So the whole 24K thing, I mean, that's good because we're talking about, the purity that we want as investors, right? And then it's something that looks pretty on the wife. I mean, don't get me wrong. I buy my wife gold jewelry, right? I buy her silver jewelry because that's one of the things people do is they wear their wealth, right? So yeah, I think that's a good deal too.
Yes,
and we're coming up on the holidays, so I tell you what, I got my wife though. I hope she's not watching this right now. I'm not even going to say it, but I will say it. I got her one of those 5-ounce Tree of Lives, and I haven't done an unboxing yet. I'm going to do an unboxing, and SD Bullion doesn't even know about that because they don't even know that I ordered it. But they've got this high relief 5-ounce Tree of Life, and it's going to be really nice because my wife really likes that one because it's like the Tree of Life, right?
Yeah.
So that one's a really pretty coin.
Sweet. That's nice. All right. Go ahead.
And I already got it, so I'm gonna do the unboxing on it one. I can't wait for that.
So you giving it to her for Christmas, or is this like a?
I'm gonna give it to her for Christmas, but I'm gonna do the unboxing just like a regular person if they would have ordered from SD Bullion. So like I said, they don't even know that I'm doing this. So it's pretty cool.
That's nice. Okay, so I see someone here says. Let me see, 90%. No, it says in the UK, we really have no option other than to buy capital gains, tax-free, best wishes. So I'm assuming in regards to their purchasing amount. So I don't know. I'm assuming that is there a VAT tax that you're aware of?
Yeah, no? In the UK there is. I think Simon Powell was saying it's like 20%. Wow. Like on top of the price of bullion. So he's saying it is very, expensive over there.
So you have the spot price, the premium that the dealer was selling at, and then in order for you to leave and actually acquire for yourself, you got the VAT tax on top of that. So that's you can almost be paying damn near for the metal times 2.
That's just part of the whole thing to keep, people away from gold and silver, right? They just put all of these things on there that is just unfortunate, but it's going to fail in the end because we know what the end game to this fiat currency is, and it's a fiat currency crisis and a hyperinflation.
Wow, VAT tax 20%. That's something else. So that's another thing that being here in the United States of America, we can be grateful for the fact that we don't have all those extras on top. We can actually just spend a little bit of a premium. And I'm of the mindset when it comes to actually getting physical weight. I'm not really concerned with the premium itself. Like, if it's something I really want, I just go ahead and drop that paper because more than likely it won't get much cheaper than what it is. And then on top of that, a year from now, 2 years from now, you're going to make that up when the Federal Reserve note, AKA, or whatever currency you're measuring it in is devalued even more. So, you're going to make that up with no problem. So,
definitely.
Last night. It says Coinbase would not allow me to purchase from JM Bullion last night. So that's interesting. So Coinbase, I'm assuming, are they using their little prepaid card or something like that? Why would you not be able to purchase from JM Bullion?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't logged into Coinbase since they had just Bitcoin and Ethereum on it.
And they got a lot of things now.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Man. So let's kick this party off right. So what are some of the primary subjects you want to touch on? What's the first one? Let's get.
I've got like 4 subjects to touch on today.
Bring on the first one. Let's see what we got.
Where do you want to go today? That's the question. You tell me where you want to go.
I just want to go along for the ride. So you take me. You take me. We ride. We drive.
Well, let's just start off with what I was titling this, right? Okay. Because I think that we're seeing some fake outs right now, and the stock market just hit a record high again today. Because last week, right, gold and silver ended with downside momentum. Gold and silver went out on the lows of the day on Friday, and that's bearish, right? They've been painting these short-term charts, especially with silver. They put in another lower high on silver's daily chart, and that's the 3rd lower high. What they're trying to do with silver right now is drop silver in price, paint that 3rd lower low. Then we will absolutely have a trend, right? A short-term trend, which is down because, 1, 2, but 3, there's no denying when 3 of those happen that it's a trend. So gold is not quite as bad looking as silver because gold has a higher low in there between the series of lower highs, but silver is just straight up 3 lower highs, 2 lower lows en route to that 3rd lower low. So it's not looking good right now. So I feel that the pressure is going to come. And the markets are closed on Thursday. And with people generally distracted this week, I really do think that they're going to bring the hammer to gold and silver because they always profit more smashing than they do letting price rise, right?
Yeah.
Now, what that is leading me into is that I'm thinking that this is just, these are just fake outs, right? This stock market, to me, in my opinion, is a breakout fake out. This gold and silver action is a breakdown fake out. Because what I think is happening is, and here's where I'm tying this in, right? The impeachment inquiry is running out of steam. Yeah. Right. Would you agree with that? Like,
I haven't even been really following it that heavily, so I'm not even sure. But I imagine it's going to be like the Russiagate, where they're going to try to extend this thing as long as they can as a diversion tactic. So I imagine it is running out of steam because, once again, what can they really produce from that is my question.
Exactly. But here's my point with that, right? I think that it's running out of steam, and I don't think that it's going to go to the Senate, because one of the things I was writing about this morning in my Outlook is that I think there's just too much risk, because people said a lot of stuff that the deep state didn't want getting out during these public hearings. So if it actually goes to the Senate and there's public hearings or public whatever, and if it's not just behind closed doors, right, then there's chance for some things to be said that the deep state does not want getting out. So I don't think it's going to go to the Senate. Plus, there's the whole, well, what's plan B? We know about plan B. It's what I've been saying all along, and it's what other people are saying all along, although there's slightly different angles on this, and that is crash the markets, crash the economy, and then you get Trump out of office in 2020. So I think that we're about to see this shift to plan B pretty soon, which means that this week is going to be like one of the last good Thanksgivings as far as normalcy, right? Yeah. Think back to Thanksgiving a couple years ago in 2017. Everybody was ecstatic over Bitcoin rising, and what happened right after that December top? Bam, and it's been brutal ever since. Same thing is going to happen this year, right? Everybody is happy right now for Thanksgiving 2019. Why? Because the Trump supporters are saying there's nothing there. It's just a hoax. This is a farce. Whatever. The economy's good. There's jobs. Look at the stock market. So they're happy. Going to have some good conversations at the dinner table. Now, what about the lunatic left that people like to call it? Well, they're saying, oh, we got Trump. We're going to remove him from office finally. So they're happy too. So everybody's at like this peak of happiness right now, right as they're giving thanks. And then they're just going to bring it all down, Mike. I'm telling you, that's what I see is coming. That's what I think is coming. Because I want to show you a few things, okay? And you probably missed this due to your stay in Area 52 last week. But here's the first little link that I'm going to send you. Right. And this was from Zero Hedge on Friday. But I just want you to look at the title of this, without even really getting into it. The title here says, "Bring it on. Trump wants Senate trial of some length if the House impeaches," right? So this is coming from inside sources from inside the White House, who said President Trump is ready and he wants him to bring it on and bring on this impeachment to the Senate. But do you see what's going on? Now, because I want to tie this in, Mike. I want to tie this in with what I've been saying all along, and I have to send you 3 more quick links real quick. All
right. Now, watch this. As you're streaming those, I popped open that Zero Hedge article. And look at the advertisement for this particular ad here. So to the right or to the left, to my right, it says impeach Donald Trump. Tap to sign a petition, and then to the left it says, do you approve of President Trump? So somebody's running advertising. They're paying for these ads to be ran to get people tied in even more. So there's money being spent on this to really paint this gentleman as being a guy that we have to remove because he's such a threat.
Yeah, so. This is Circus Sideshow 101. This is Epic Distraction 101. Because here's where I have a problem with this, right? And this is why I say that he's a deep state globalist in Patriots clothing. Because there's two. Well, I like how Kerry Lutz brought it up because he made a good point. He said it's a hypothesis, not a theory. I call it a theory all the time. But anyway, I'm not a lawyer, right? So my point is, when let's see here. Okay, so they're talking about bring it on this length, because the two theories are that I think that he's the fall guy. And then the other theory is that they're going to just go ahead and crash the markets. But here's the thing, right? So, Did you see the tweets that I sent you?
Yeah, 1 second. Pull them now. All right.
I'm just going to read them because there's 3, right? But here's the thing about the Russian collusion hoax. So this is back in February, the first one, and I'm just going to read one sentence from each tweet.
Okay.
People being shattered and destroyed by a mere allegation. Okay. So this is about the witch hunt, the Mueller investigation. Yeah. So that was from February of 2018. Now let's fast forward to May of 2018. Who's going to give back the young and beautiful lives and others that have been devastated and destroyed by the phony Russian collusion witch hunt, right? Mm-hmm. So that's May 27th, 2018. Now let's fast forward to August 2018. I'm going to read one more sentence.
Okay.
Too many voices are being destroyed, some good and some bad, and that cannot be allowed to happen. That cannot be allowed to happen, Mike. Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to bring it into the last one on April 18th of this year, right? So this is President Trump quoting somebody and then President Trump making a comment. And here's President Trump's comment. And I'm only going to read one sentence again, but the comment is, I had the right to end the whole witch hunt if I wanted. Right? So he's been admitting over the course of years that people's lives are being destroyed and devastated, but he had the right to end it anytime he wanted. But now he's saying, bring on a very lengthy impeachment. I mean, come on, this is because they're protecting their own, right? Yeah. This is saying that my hypothesis is probably more correct than other people's hypothesis who says this is a coup against President Trump, right? Because I think that he's in the part of the deep state playing his role in it. Yeah. And these are just some of those little examples we see, right? Because we've established over the course of a year and a half that he said this is terrible, it's destroying people, but he could have ended it. Now all of a sudden he's saying, yeah, bring it on, let's go for a lengthy one. That's because they don't want to deal with the real issues, because he's not going to deal with the real issues because he's deep state, if I'm correct.
Okay, now hold that same thought. Lilo, we have a caller. Let's take this call and see what's going on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How you doing, guys? This is low blood pressure from Corpus Christi, Texas. How you guys doing today?
Doing good, my friend. How you doing? What's on your mind this afternoon?
Okay. We're talking about the stock market, right? I think this market's only got two choices. It's either going to hyperinflate or it's going to crash. I don't agree with Paul. I don't think it's going to crash because there's two things. One, if it crashes, it's going to be deflationary. Wealth is going to be destroyed. 1929, we start all over again. And if it goes away, I think, which is hyperinflation, the reason why I chose that was because the Fed's got unlimited amount of money, so they're just gonna pump and pump and pump and pump and pump until it blows. And I think that's the way we're going. What do you guys think about that?
Low blood pressure. I appreciate that. I'm gonna have Mr. Half-Dollar touch that off the phone call. So appreciate you calling in, my friend.
All right, Mike. Have a great day, guys.
Be good. All right, Mr. Half-Dollar, you've been challenged by Mr. Low Blood Pressure.
Yes, thanks for calling in, Low Blood Pressure, and I'm glad we got the phone lines back because it adds some good flair to the show that I like, because you never know what kind of question we're going to get. But, right, they're deep state globalists, right? I think low blood pressure is, giving people too much credit for being honest and being nice. And actually, Kerry Lutz said that in your interview the other day. He said that you got to assume that people are good. Yeah. Heck no. People are evil. People are nasty. People are bad. People are not good, right? So if we're talking about deep state globalists, why would they not want to financially ruin and financially devastate people in the United States? Of course they want to do that, right? Mm-hmm. We talk about people fleeing the United States in record numbers to avoid all this taxation and this wealth grab. Well, that's what deep state globalists do. They don't care about America. And besides, to truly bring down America and bring down the empire, this has to happen. Now, I think I agree in the sense that they will hyperinflate it away when we get into the fiat currency crisis, but I think they're going to crash it first. And as far as the whole deflation thing, well, your average American, right? Your flyover America, you're deplorable. There's no savings there anyway, so there's no wealth to be lost. It's only in the people that have worked hard and that have saved that are going to get that 2x4 on the back of the head because they believed in the system, not knowing that people are inherently bad and not inherently good. Yeah. I see you getting worked up there, Mike. So what do you want to bring on that?
Okay, so I'm trying to wrap my mind around this, and so it's kind of hard. It's hard for me to predict because I see both scenarios playing out. I see in there being a correction first, somewhat of a not necessarily severe correction. So I've learned that if it's a 20% drop or so, that's considered a relatively a crash. And so I can see it dropping. If it's 30,000 or whatever, 28,000 now, I can see it going to back down to 20 to cause a panic, to cause a scare, because that's a pretty severe drop. And so from that, I can see then monetary policy kicking in and outright monetization or some type of policy being implemented to buy equities directly outright now, or something that's going to be thrown out there. to where it then shoots it above 30, and then from 30 it's going to just take off because it's going to be literally artificially driven up to the point where that is, as low blood pressure mentioned, hyperinflationary, because you got excess reserves being brought out of nowhere into existence for the sole purpose of continuing to prop up not only the banking sector, which is what's going on now, but now they're taking it mainstream to Wall Street and pumping up all the equities markets, which just won't stop with our markets here. It's going to then trickle into all global equities markets, causing all of them to rise. Therefore, that is basically a form of hyperinflation or a fake net worth increase by the world, where people are going to be set up for a major drop, because once it gets too high, then at that point a complete crash will then come, like never seen before, which will make the Great Depression look like a mild head cold in comparison to what it's going to end up being, because it's going to be then a reboot to something else. That's my 2 cents.
Good points. Good points. I mean, I would think that they want to be done with America altogether. So that's where I'm at.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Just because I always talk about the untapped funds and the untapped funds that reside in the baby boomers' possession, and all those accounts and whatnot worldwide. So until they can find a way to remove that wealth or transfer it into whatever they want to transfer it into, they're going to prolong this thing, because they don't want to just wipe that clean. I would imagine they want to transfer it into something else that they can be the beneficiaries of, which will then equal loss for the rest of the world. So that's just my 2 cents. But we have another call. If you want to get that one, then we can go from there. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name's Matt. Is this am I?
I'm sorry?
I'm from Nashville.
How you doing? What's your name again, Matt?
Yeah, Matt.
What's on your mind, Matt? How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, so y'all was talking about deflation and hyperinflation, right? Which one's going to happen?
Yes, or the order.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be hyperinflation first instead of the deflation, because of in December last year, everything was going down. We went in the bear market, but then they did a complete reversal and of monetary policy, and they are doing everything they can to prop it up. So I'm seeing a hyperinflation first, because they really don't want that deflation to happen. They want to steal everybody's savings before they can have any chance to be smart about it and run to precious metals first.
Okay, I can understand that completely. And so, reason I would say deflation could come first is because there could be some trigger from outside the U.S. that then trickles into U.S. equities markets, which causes that little 20% or whatever correction, which will then create a shock that will then force them to have to get involved directly. So I'm anticipating some type of trigger from outside our country, whether it be Deutsche Bank or some derivatives explosion or who knows, being the trigger, which leads to a slight correction in the deflationary matter before it takes off to the races. That's kind of what I'm talking about.
Well, you guys are awesome. I love tuning in. This is my first time I ever got to catch the time. So
Well, I appreciate you, Matt.
About it. Yeah. So, and last thing I'll say is, I went ahead and bought a house just in case hyperinflate. I already have my name signed on a lower price. So
All right, my man. All right, be good. Thanks for calling. All right, good call there. Appreciate that one. All right, Mr. Half Dollar. Well, where do we leave off at? Or you want to just comment on that?
That was good stuff there. You had made up a point, but I can't remember where, because when you were talking about deflation first and into hyperinflation, you had brought up a great point, but I can't remember exactly where I wanted to take it because I didn't write it down.
All right, well, hold that thought and write your next thought down. We have another call, so so we get too sidetracked. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? 1 second. I apologize. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Oh, yeah. Just a quick question, and then I'll hang up. You guys can talk about it.
Okay.
All the central banks, they're only buying gold, and I think it's a little suspicious that none of them are stacking any of the other metals. Can you comment on why that would be the case? They're not hoarding platinum, palladium, or silver, or anything else. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate the call. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
All right. That's a great question there, Mr. Half Dollar. Touch on it.
Okay. Well, gold's the monetary reserve, right? So on the central bank's balance sheet, it's gold that's money. Not every place in the world is unique like the United States was in that it was a bimetallic gold and silver standard. Some places were on silver, some places were on gold, some places were on both. Right now, currently, it's gold that's on the books as the monetary asset. However, I don't think that, because the gold is reported, right? The central banks are reporting their gold, supposedly. If we take it at face value, they're reporting their gold. They're putting it on their books right there. I think that there's a lot of backdoor silver stacking going on that we're not hearing about. And we see little trickles of that here and there, right? One of the things we can point to is India scooping up all this silver. Another thing that we can point to is Russia in that little mishap they had in their plane and all those silver bars strewed out all along the runway there. So I think that nations are stacking silver. I just think that it's being done on the down low because of the fact that it's not reported as that tier 1 monetary asset on their balance sheet. Now, having said that, I don't think it's going to stop at just silver, right? I think your poorer nations are going to start stockpiling copper for that matter, because I think that there's going to be a scramble for anything that's real at all, anything that's real. Thoughts there, Mike, or did I leave anything out? That you
I think you're correct. I think you're correct. And so all we hear about is gold because of the position that gold has held for the last how many ever decades, especially when it was linked towards being pegged to the dollar directly. So since that whole situation changed 50 years ago, there's been a spike in the last 20 years to get physical. And so we see the accumulation happening out east. So we know, I assume that there's plans to implement gold directly back into the international monetary system for probably restoring confidence back in international trade amongst nations. And then also for the public, they're going to probably try to implement something in some type of backed form, which I don't see them wanting to put silver or gold back into people's hands in any form of fashion, even in verbiage. So whatever they're doing it behind the scenes, and I would imagine silver is included, because silver is even more important than gold because it's on its other properties in industrial use cases. So
plus it's the power of the people.
Exactly. So we have another call before we take off. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Vancouver, Washington.
How you doing, Vancouver, Washington? What's on your mind this afternoon?
Well, I got a part A and part B. JP Morgan is under all these racketeering charges, and I've got my accounts with Chase Manhattan. I'm getting kind of worried. I know there's a global reset coming on. I don't know what's going to happen to silver prices at that time, but I am kind of curious if I should yank my money out of Chase Manhattan.
Ooh, so that's your part A, okay? And then what's B?
Well, part B is about the global reset when the currencies are being changed out. What is going to happen to the silver prices? Because I have a lot of coins, 99.9 and grams of silver versus gold, because I think if we get into a barter system or something, it's going to be easier to barter with grams or ounces of silver than gold for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we will touch on those questions off air so you can actually hear both our responses. Appreciate you calling, my friend.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Be good. All right, Mr. Half Dollar.
Yeah, obviously disclaimer, right? This is not the financial advice. We're not financial anything, right? We're just a couple guys trying to figure out how to live stream with our opinion for the advocacy of gold and silver, right? That's our mission, right? But I will say this: I do not trust any bank, whether it's JP Morgan or even my own bank, USAA, which often gets one of those like they get cast in a good light whenever you hear about that bank, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's a credit union, but same thing, right? Banks, credit unions. But my working philosophy is as little in the banks as possible. Yeah. Well, what does that mean? That means that there are several things going on that I'm doing, right? One of those things is having vehicles paid off. One of those things is paying off the house, even though there's a mortgage on it. So that's what I'm saying is if there's extra money there, then it's being taken out of the bank and it's being converted into something else, obviously gold and silver. But my point is that the only money that I keep in the bank is my working money, right? Which is my paying my bills, paying my phone bill, paying my mortgage, paying for my gas. So it's my the money that I need on a daily basis just to live, basically. And then whatever's left over, right? Then at that point we're deciding, are we going to put a little bit extra on the house? Are we going to buy a little little bit more silver? Are we going to go do this? Are we going to go do that? Now, with 2 teenagers in the house, it kind of changes everything because, my goodness, the money just flows like water sooner or later. So it's kind of hard to make those decisions when they keep asking for more.
Yeah.
But aside from that, that would be what I would do. And, but then the flip side of that is, like we saw, was it Chase or it would be the same thing, JP Morgan Chase, but I can't remember the bank that forgave all the loans or all the credit cards.
I want to say Bank of America off the top of my head. I want to say that.
All of Canada.
In Canada, right? All of Canada. And they give us any type of number other than just saying the entire country debt was forgiven. They're no longer extending credit to that nation. So I'm like, okay, man, that was a nice blessing.
Yeah. So you want to talk about removing liquidity from the market, like as far as sterilizing it? There's how you sterilize it right there. Just we're forgiving the debts. So debt jubilee. So on the flip side, there's that too. But I don't think that it's worthwhile to rack up credit card debt or this or that just because people think that there's going to be a debt jubilee. Yeah. A debt jubilee. So those would just be my thoughts on it. Anything you'd like to add, Mike?
I would say that when it comes to your association and your continuation to participate in this current system, knowing that things have already shifted, is basically you willing to take on the risk for yourself, knowing that whether it be the bail-ins, bail-outs, bail whatever. You as a citizen in your country or wherever you're at, if you're not proactively handling your affairs, knowing that the system's changing and rigged against you, then you can't really point the blame at anybody other than yourself if you know that things are changing and you know that the intention is to eventually bring down the system to give us something else. And so my personal opinion would be only keep in what you're willing to lose. And so anything that you're willing to lose, then if you lost it, will be no big deal. Unless you're a person with specialized knowledge, you know how to trade and do all the technical things to try to profit off of the fluctuations in the markets. I wouldn't participate at a high magnitude expecting some type of returns 10, 20 years down the line because I'm anticipating a shift which will be reflected in the issuance of a new currency. So that's my 2 cents there. So only keep in what you're willing to lose, whatever that means for you. So.
That well said. That's good. And then with the silver, right? Because he mentioned that it's the silver that he prefers. Me too. Yeah. I'm right there with him. So, I think that silver investors are going to, stand to look good here, right? We've been wrong for, 8 years. Now it's time to be right because that's what it is with being a contrarian, whether people realize it or not, right? Whether people think of themselves as a contrarian. If you're buying gold and silver since 2011, you're basically a contrarian after the bubble popped. So call it 2013, basically.
Now watch this. If you were to take that same approach, but just extend the time frame, and so there's probably people watching us that's probably a lot older than we are. So if they were accumulating silver, especially, or even gold when they were back before it was illegal, during that little 40-year stretch, if you were still holding on to what was real, then when an ounce of silver was $1 or less than $1, if you were still saving from that time frame 50, 60 years ago, you're a lot better off. You'd be a lot better off than. So I'm anticipating the same type of activity because right now I'm looking at the spot price is less than $17 an ounce. 60 years ago is $1. So just worst case scenario, you sit on 1 ounce for another 50 years, 60 years. Imagine what it could be in whatever currency it's being issued in or they're not making it in.
Or even from the year 2000, right? Like my wife and I were married in 2001. And unfortunately, we didn't know about silver and gold back in 2001, and we kick ourselves in the foot, right? But the point is that somebody always has to start somewhere, right? And people always do start somewhere. That one point that I wanted to mention, Mike, real quick, about the inflation deflation, it's just simply because you brought this up last week when Powell was in Congress giving his economic outlook about how the Fed thinks that they're good here with 3 rates and they're done, and unless something really significantly changes, we're on hold. But my point with that deflation thing is there has to be a crisis before they can act, right? There has to be a crisis before they can act. Because let me show you a couple things. This is one of the topics I wanted to get into today.
Okay.
So I got 2 links for you here. So this is from yesterday. This is out of Bloomberg. And this is your boy from last week that we were talking about, Mr. Kashkari, the little dandy Kashkari. That's one. And then here's something else.
Okay.
And then that one is not advocacy or support or endorsement or anything. It's just showing something to make a point. That's all, when that second one. But the first one was Kashkari, right? Basically what they're saying right, is that the Fed is prepared to, and I want to read like what it was that he actually said. But basically what they're talking about is that the Fed is ready to do helicopter money for the people, right? MMT, right? QE for the people. That's what the Minneapolis Fed governor is, which is a voting member of the FOMC, Kashkari. This is one of the things he's saying, right? He said, and I'm quoting here, "We had historically said distributional outcomes, monetary policy has no role to play," right? So distribution, what he's talking about, distribution. He's talking about distribution of wealth redistribution. So the very first problem I have with that is, we don't have anything to do with distribution. Hello, you've suppressed interest rates for 10 years and you've directed all this money to the top 0.001%. That's distribution right there. So first of all, that's bold-faced hypocrisy at its finest. Yeah. But then second of all, it's going to show you that, because it goes on to say that was the standard view at the Fed. And I came in assuming that, but now I think that that's wrong, right? So now what he's saying is, we need to redistribute wealth to the people, right? To the people. That's what he's saying. Things aren't quite that bad yet, which shows that second link I gave you, which is Elizabeth Warren. That was from yesterday. Did you see that tweet that I sent you? It's real simple.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at it. No, go ahead.
All it says is federal minimum wage 2009, $725. Federal minimum wage in 2019, $725, right? So, if you take a couple of these things together, right? Kashkari saying, maybe the Fed should be providing this helicopter money, this QE for the people, this MMT, all this Green New Deal stuff. Yeah. And then Warren saying, we've had this federal, minimum wage.
Signal.
Okay.
And so, all right, we're back on. It's connected, so we're good. Okay,
we're back on. Okay, yeah. So just my whole point with that was because there has to be that crisis before that federal wage gets upped and before, the Fed starts their QE for the people and their Green New Deal and all that stuff. So that was my point with that there.
Yeah. Mike. So earlier, before we got a couple calls, you referenced that you're anticipating that, is it by the end of this year, next couple of weeks, or the beginning of next year, we're going to see that crash or that correction because if they can't beat Trump with this impeachment inquiry situation and all the other stuff, they're going to just say, skip it. Let's go ahead and just bring it down, and then we'll reboot it. Or what? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? What's that about?
Here's what that's about. And I'm going to hit refresh because someone said your live stream cut out. But we're back live again, right, Mike?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Well, it basically comes down to, I think that it could happen as early as they could start bringing these markets down as early as next week because of something that you mentioned last week, which is lag time, right? Lag time. People have to really be feeling this, right, to change their minds come the election in 2020, right? So if I'm right and if President Trump is the fall guy, this is going to happen sooner than later, like as in it could even start happening next week because everybody thinks the Fed's got their back. Everybody thinks there's only one way these markets can go. Everybody thinks that the Fed's going to come in there with the Powell put and save and rescue the markets, and then everybody's just elated right now, right? Looking optimistic. So next week is the perfect time where this stuff could even start snowballing. I'm not saying it's going to happen next week, but I'm saying if there is in fact a lag, it's got to happen very soon because people have to feel it before going to the polls next November.
Oh, that's interesting because that will be very interesting to do all that in the holiday season, rather. Like right now is the best time, as you was referencing, that everybody's excited, yada, yada, yada. So to bring a crash down would definitely cause a major drop in shopping season time frame and the travel. See, all that stuff that happens around this season will be cut short. So that will be a definite problem. A definite problem.
So those are my thoughts there because the other thing, right, like a lot of the President Trump supporters say is that it's a coup against President Trump. And since this impeachment thing is fizzling out, right, and the mainstream's talking about how it's fizzling out, right? Like CNN had this article up this morning that said, Republicans subscribing to conspiracy theories that Trump is innocent in all of this. And like that was like their headline, like literally saying that he's guilty, but the Republicans are going along with Trump's so like if it is a coup, then they've got to move on to the next step, which is bringing on that economic and market pain. And there is that lag. So that's why I keep bringing that up and keep saying that because, if I'm right, or if the people who think it's a coup is right, then something's going to happen very soon. Because, I also called it shock and awe, right? Like, if you're going to go attack something, right? Like if it's a police rushing something, they're going to throw in some flashbangs first, disorient everybody, confuse everybody. You know what I mean? So if you're going to shock and awe, the whole point is that you want to have full bear down on that person in your attack so they can't even react to the shock and awe. So I think that that's what we could be talking about here.
That's something else. That's something else. Now, watch this. As we've always noted, we get going and we don't check back in with the chat. So let's check in with the chat and see. I see a couple highlights. So let me address some of those. The first one is from Glenn. It says, lots to talk about. Looks like you are going to need to extend today's show to 2 hours. That could have been a while ago. It says, the stream cut off, right? So we're back on them. So yeah, I apologize for that. It says, what are your thoughts on the big hedge funds shorting the market? What are your thoughts about that? Because I remember I talked about or commented on Ray Dalio, him basically giving a little description of what he sees going on. And apparently the eyes have been watching, noticed that he's been doing some shorting of the markets, anticipating some type of correction. And so I'm not surprised at all, because I remember talking about, I think a year ago, all the big money players are pulling money out and position themselves to bet against the economy. So I wouldn't be surprised. What about you?
Have you ever seen that one chart? It shows like since the global financial crisis, and it shows like who's buying stocks, and it shows share buybacks, and that thing is just at a 45-degree angle going straight up. Yeah. And then it shows like retail investors, and like they had dipped down a little bit, but now it's going back up and it's positive again. Like retail is jumping back in. Yeah. Then it showed like institutional investors, and it's still been in that decline, and it's barely turning just slightly. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the hedge funds, right? I mean, the smart money has been selling, right? Like when you talk about, this waiting period for these companies that go IPO before their people with stock options, their executives with stock options can unload their shares. We're seeing that happen. We're seeing the smart money selling. So yeah, the only problem is, who's going to be right? The ones who have the inside information. I don't know how much of an insider Ray Dalio is, but you don't get to the very top unless you are on the inside. Yeah.
So you don't get to billionaire status unless you are aware of a few things, because in order to remain there, you got to cooperate to some capacity, I believe.
Yeah, you do, because there's going to be the sketchy stuff going on, and you're not going to be able to stay like that at that top unless you're part of it, or at least you know about it.
Yeah.
I mean, people think that the markets are just markets free and acting on their own, and they're not. They're highly intervened in on a daily basis.
Yeah, they're controlled, strategically controlled for something bigger and greater. And so looking at some of the comments here, it says, Ray Dalio, Bridgewater, big hedge fund, $1 billion bet market crash by March 2020. And then someone says crash in January, ? So it looks like a lot of people might be anticipating a crash at the beginning in the spring, first quarter of 2020. And so just because a lot of people are anticipating that is where I'm like, it's just when you got your average or a common investor or eye watcher or alternative media person given a time frame, that's something I'm like, wow, like that makes me question even more. It can be either sooner or later, because people are anticipating it. If you got the average person, your common person anticipating it, then it was not much of a surprise.
But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. And I actually hit on this morning in my outlook for the week. Because you bring up a good point, and it's something that I actually thought about this morning. Because one of the things that we talk about is I lost my train of thought, so I'm gonna have to look at that article again. Hold on. So it's in my article from this morning. And one of the things that what was the last point that you had just hit on there, Mike?
About anticipating a crash. Like more people are talking about 2020 first couple months, crash, and which is like, makes me a little suspicious.
Yeah, because people were talking about the impeachment for well over a year. And what happened? We finally got the impeachment inquiry going, right? So the mainstream has been talking for well over a year about crashing the economy to get Trump out of office, right? So we're right at that time where it has been talked about over the last year, just like the impeachment inquiry. And if you look, and this is the way that I talked about it in my outlook this morning, if you think about deep state globalist false flag tactics, what do? they signal what they're going to do ahead of time, right? Because it's a way that they can, wash their hands clean. No blood on my hand. We told you we were going to impeach Trump. No blood on my hand. We told you we were going to crash the economy, right?
Yeah.
So this is what goes on, right? So I think that the signaling has been there, and I think that the stage is set.
Yeah. And so someone just mentioned here, it says the average person doesn't have the money to crash the market. Only the big players' opinions matter. So when you hear Ray Dalio and I think let me see, a couple other billionaire type people commented on how concerned they are, and I'm imagining that they have a lot to lose, or they have even more to profit from this. And so,
I think that they will eventually lose control, right? This ends in us going back to gold and silver. They will, in fact, lose control. But here's the thing, right? You only got to do three things, right? You only got to do three things. You sell puts on S&P, you buy calls, right? And then that also affects the VIX, right? The volatility, you suppress volatility. You buy the index futures, right? You buy the minis, you buy the futures, and then you sell gold and silver naked short, right? So if you do these three things, is the Fed audited? No, the Fed's not audited. Do we get to see the Fed's books? No, we don't get to see the Fed's books. And even if we did, would we get to see the Fed's real books? No, we wouldn't get to see the Fed's real books, or the Treasury for that matter. So, the markets cannot go down or up until that's how intervened I think that they are right now, until the Fed decides that that's what they're going to do. So that's my point, right? If Dalio is betting that the market's going to crash, and if he's right, it's because he knows that they're going to pull the plug on the markets, right? That's my point with that. Because, yes, they have that control now. They will lose control, right? Which is why I don't want to be in that system, because I don't know when that point's going to happen. But, who knows? Unless you're on the inside.
Now watch this. I think it was last week, if I'm not mistaken, that President Trump met with Mr. Powell. And apparently there was some discussion. So what do you think took place in that meeting?
That's a good question. I didn't think about it too much, because when it happened, I remember a few years back when Obama was still president and Janet Yellen went to the White House on an undisclosed meeting. So they do this every once in a while for one reason or another, but I'm not exactly sure why they would have done it. Maybe to show that they're on good terms again. I don't know, because we haven't seen this whole doofus Powell and dumb Fed and they can't get anything right, losers. And I haven't seen those tweets lately, really.
But just think about it. Leading up to this meeting, every other tweet outside of the economy's doing great, it'll be the Fed is behind, Jerome Powell don't know what he's doing, he's incompetent, whatever. So I would imagine that if this is a big game to them, they're all on in this together, knowing the outcome or what they're intending to do. It was probably just a friendly boy-to-boy meet up. How you doing? How's it going? Yeah, I'm sorry about the harsh words, but I have to try to play this, so I got to really keep so expect the words to intensify more, and I need you to continue to do what you do. Don't comment, just be yourself. Stay the course. It looks like you guys are dropping rates accordingly. Keep doing what you're doing. Everything's fine. I just want to apologize for calling you a bonehead. Forgive me, but I have to do this.
And think about the other thing. Think about the signaling with this too, right? What is this signaling? This is signaling, hey, we got it, right? So this is pleasing both crowds. Fed's got it. They're on top of it. This is also pleasing the government's got it, right? Because when the crisis happens, people are going to want to say, oh, the Fed's got to do something. Oh, the government's got to do something. When really that's what's causing the problem, right? The government doing something is causing the problem. The Fed doing something is causing the problem. But this meeting between them, now we're discussing it, I'm thinking about the signaling aspect of it, because everybody wants to provide that legitimacy to the Fed and that legitimacy to what we're doing with our economic policy with regards to the federal government there. So there's also just powerful signaling, regardless of what was said, just in and of the meeting itself, there's a signal there.
Yeah. Yeah, because it has us all wondering. And that's the primary signal.
Mike, do you do you remember how every once in a while I like to say he's throwing them a bone? He's throwing them a bone out there.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm going to show you this little bone, right? Because I want to show you a very specific example of these little bones that President Trump throws. And these bones that he throws, he's not saying it himself. Here's the first thing, and I want you to actually pull this up.
All right.
So this is President Trump retweeted it, right? So this is not President Trump's actual comment, right? This is only a retweet. So this is the bone, right? This is the bone. And let me know when you get it up, and I'm going to go ahead.
It's up.
Okay. So this is what Terrence Williams said, right? Terrence Williams, that Trump, can you see that it's a retweet?
Yeah, I see it.
Says, died of suicide on 24/7 suicide watch? Yeah, right. How does that happen? JE had information on Bill Clinton and ... right? And what happens? President Trump retweets it. So this is throwing that bone. This is throwing that, oh, they're going to drain the swamp. Oh, they're going to get rid of all this evil stuff, all these nasty people, these deep state. This is that bone.
Yeah.
Because what happened over the weekend? Did you hear what Barr said?
I did not. No. Fill me in.
Oh, I forgot to send you the other link, didn't I? I forgot to send you. Here's the other link right here. But this is just, I mean, it was picked up everywhere. This is just, I grabbed it from the New York Times right here. I'm just going to read the first two sentences, right? Or not the first two sentences from one paragraph.
Okay.
Mr. Barr, as in the Attorney General of the United States, as in the third Attorney General that's been appointed under President Trump, Barr, right? Mr. Barr said that he, too, was initially suspicious. Mm-hmm. How could, wait, that's not the one I wanted to read. Okay, here it is. That was the next paragraph. But investigations by the FBI and the Justice Department's Inspector General have put to rest those suspicions, proving J.E.'s death was a suicide, Mr. Barr said. Right? So what's the bone? The bone is just something that someone else said here and there. But really, when you look at the, what's going on in the administration, nothing's going on. Nothing's changing, right? It's like, oh, he's got Barr in there. They're going to drain this. No, he's covering this stuff up.
Yeah.
Right? He's got his right-hand man covering this stuff up. It's the same thing with Giuliani. What's he? He's a cover-upper from, what happened that horrible day in September way back when. Right? So, this stuff is not good at all. And here's a specific example of those bones that get thrown out there. Like something's going to happen when you see what the official posture is, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah. And so I saw something about the guards and one of the guards willing to testify or something like that. And I'm thinking like, okay, clearly he has to participate or he's going to come up missing or whatever happened with that route there. So there's so much mystery behind this, but it just all smells funny. Yes. Like there's no way you can walk away from this really believing any of the things we're being presented. But this is the only thing we're probably gonna be left with. It's just mystery.
Case closed.
Trying to figure out exactly.
The Attorney General is saying the case is closed, right? That's basically what just happened. Right. So nothing, we are making zero progress. Where are any of these mass arrests, Mike? Where are any of these military tribunals? Because when people like Lindsey Graham say, we can do military tribunals, right? Well, that's because they're going to round up all the patriots and call them terrorists, right? That's what that's for. That's not to drain the swamp. I don't even want to start going down those tangents or then I'll start talking about the wall and how it's really to seal the United States off in a big prison. Uh-huh. But anyway, so just stop me right there, Mike.
Oh, man, yeah. So I all right, so with that being the case, it looks like we're going to get ready to dial back. So I'm looking at myself and my green screen. So with that being the case, everybody, due to the unintended errors, we're going to dial back. It's been fun hanging out with everybody. If you've enjoyed the live stream, give us a thumbs up. You got 2 thumbs up there. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday, same time, same place, a little pre-holiday special. But other than that, be blessed, be safe, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Peace.